Blood, fear, and fury again on the streets in Syria. This unverified amateur video is purportedly from Aleppo, the country's second largest city, and today reportedly the scene of defiance and death. And it's the same in Hama, Deir al-Zur, Latakia, Banias, Damascus. The list goes on. Tens of thousands marched against the regime of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad, and for the first time they were heard calling not just for his removal, but his execution. This as the U.S. urges the world to cut vital lifelines to the regime.
We urge those countries still buying Syrian oil and gas, those countries still sending Assad weapons, those countries whose political and economic support give him comfort in his brutality, to get on the right side of history.
History is repeating itself inside the country. According to rights groups, at least 14 protesters were gunned down today alone. It's become an all too familiar response to protesters' calls for democracy and regime change. Canada, for its part, has already ordered Syrian diplomats out of the country, and yesterday Prime Minister Stephen Harper said he's pushing for stronger sanctions.
Their behavior is outrageous, and I think they're on a path that frankly is not sustainable, but we will continue to work with our allies in particular to bring diplomatic pressure to bear.
Since the protests in Syria began in mid-March, activists say at least 1,700 people have been killed. But in recent days, the bloodshed has escalated to a kind of scorched earth campaign. Much of the video you're about to see is also unverified, captured from cell phone cameras, uploaded to the internet. We can't be sure if it shows what it purports to, but what we do know is it tells a dark story of snipers on rooftops, tanks shelling cities, and neighborhoods reduced to rubble. July 31st, the eve of Ramadan, began with a siege. Syria's fourth largest city, Hama, was battered by tank fire. For the next several days, the city and its people were torn to pieces. Hundreds were reported killed. It's brutality that shocked even a jaded international community. For the first time, the UN wagged its finger at Syria.
The Security Council condemns the widespread violations of human rights and the use of force against civilians by the Syrian authorities.
But there were no sanctions. And as soon as the siege ended in Hama, another began in Deir al-Zur. Images such as this of a mosque being leveled have shocked the world. Arab states have added their voices to the outcry, but after a 5-month-long death spiral of defiance and brutality, when will condemnation be followed with real action? That's what supporters of the Syrian opposition in Canada were calling for today during a demonstration in Ottawa. A group of about 60 people gathered outside the Syrian embassy and then marched to Prime Minister Stephen Harper's office a few blocks away. Samer Mohamed was among them. He's a member of the Syrian-Canadian Council, a newly formed group dedicated to raising awareness of the plight of Syria's pro-democracy movement. He joins me now from Ottawa. Samer, I know you live in Toronto, but you went to Ottawa to be at that demonstration today. What was your message and the message of the rest of the demonstrators for Canada's government?
Our message is straightforward, is first of all to our Prime Minister, Mr. Stephen Harper. We need Mr. Stephen Harper to be a leader, not to be a follower. So we want him to act and act now before it is too late to save the Syrian children who's dying every day in Syria. And how he can do that? He can do that by stopping all the trades with the Syrian government. He can do that by asking the Syrian ambassador and the diplomats to leave from Canada. He can do so by recalling the Canadian ambassador from Syria. He can do so by condemning the Syrian regime and acknowledging with the rest of the world that the regime is a killer, and a killer cannot be a leader.
Now, this isn't the first time you've taken part in demonstrations against what's going on in Syria. I wonder what the repercussions have been to your family in Syria as far as you're concerned for demonstrating here in Canada.
It is very bad, actually. I know I have a short time, so I'm going to make it straight to the point. My family in Syria, it started after a broad demonstration in Toronto in Queen's Park about 6 weeks ago. And people who had tagged that they work for the embassy, the Syrian embassy in Ottawa, took pictures of me and other fellows, Syrian fellows. And they threatened us literally that if we don't stop, action will be taken. I didn't believe in that, but I got about 4 or 5 phone calls, anonymous phone calls, threatening me. I still ignored that, and I told them, I don't care. A couple of weeks later, my cousins in Syria were taken by what they call mukabarat, or you could call them government special forces police, or just like CCs in here. They were taken by them, and they were beaten for 4 days, and then they were giving back to us, to our family in Syria, almost paralyzed. And we had talked to everyone in there, and they gone to the borders of Turkey, and we don't even have any information about them right now.
I'm going to presume that it's not proven that those were Syrian embassy people doing that. But nonetheless, are you worried about speaking out against Syria?
Actually, not anymore, because it makes me more determined right now. I want the freedom. If this is what's happening to me while I live in Canada, a quote in here, Canada is a country who give me my freedom, and I'm afraid. What about the people who live in Syria? My brothers and sisters who's dying for freedom, and their only weapon is a camera and a pencil, or a camera and a paper. I don't know if you deserve to die for carrying a weapon like that.
Samer, it's obvious you feel very strongly about this, and I thank you for coming in to talk with us tonight.
Thank you very much, sir.
The crackdown against protesters in Syria is happening right across the country, and as the tanks invade cities and towns, Syrians are trying to flee to neighboring countries, including Turkey. CBC News has put together an interactive map of the military assault in Syria. You can read more about the situation inside the country and efforts to get out. It's all online at cbcnews.ca. Just follow the links. We're keeping an eye on several other stories making news tonight. Rashmi Nair is tracking the rest of your top stories. Rashmi?
Paul, Canada signs a controversial new free trade agreement. Plus, Tiger Woods, remember